into positions of hopelessness and helplessness. The government gives them the drugs, builds bigger prisons, passes a 3-strike law, and then wants us to sing God Bless America. No, no, no. Not God Bless America. God damn America. That's in the Bible for killing innocent people. God damn America for treating us citizens as less than human. God damn America as long as she tries to act like she is God and she is supreme.
I can't find the video, but there's this video I saw of a Cajun guy eating horse paste because one thing that's hot on YouTube right now is sticking it to the libs by taking a YouTube video of yourself and explaining how normal it is to eat your horse paste and then eating it live on camera, which I think the conceit of eating your horse paste live on camera is, look, and I didn't immediately die, which is weird because that's not what people are saying happens. Like you eat it and you're like, oh, in my insides. Like it's just bad for you in general. And it takes
like
a while.
movie poison.
Yeah.
Well, it's, yeah, arguably, isn't it basically just as bad as like Doritos or like any of the shit we put into our bodies on a daily basis?
Like Red 40 and shit like that.
Yeah.
It's like Red 40. It destroys your sperm. Or was that Yellow 5 and Surge? I don't know. We'll get into that in a minute. But what I was trying to find, and I'm going to look for later in the show while we were talking, is that so all the videos are very boring. They're just these guys, you know, a lot of them are like, hey, here's my farming YouTube. Or it's just some random person that did their own medical research. And then they're just showing you that they're eating the paste. But one I found that I can't find again for some reason because I didn't mark it down is really funny because the guy's just super Cajun. So he's just like, yeah, you got to put a little bit of this apple paste sauce down there on that. Well, make a little sandwich out of it. You know, you got to look deep, reach deep down into horse paste and then put it in your mouth like this. And then he's like, he eats it. He's just like, But you can tell the part where he normally would go, tastes so good, makes you want to slap your mama. He like hesitates and he just goes like, it's you can eat it. Like he's like not having a good time because it doesn't taste good.
Yeah,
because it's not made for the human palate. And then
that's why I gotta add some slap your mama sauce on it. You know,
right.
Sprinkle it on there,
folks. If you're listening, if you're eating, if you're self-medicating with ivermectin, you gotta put some slap your mama on there because it is not meant for humans. Like, I can't remember. He just said like $1 bill or something at the end. It made me laugh real hard. But I'll put it in later if I can find it. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the show. I'm Jake Flores. Anders Lee is here.
Anders Lee here.
And our pal Rara Imler from Atlanta, down in the swamp.
Yo, what's up?
Welcome to the show.
Are there Cajuns in Atlanta? No, right?
Not as many as you'd think. At least not in the circles I run in. Maybe there is some kind of like cool underground Cajun scene that I don't know of, but
yeah,
not that I'm aware.
I didn't mean to throw Cajun on you. They don't wander that far up north. They're famous for not leaving their own
from bayou.
Yeah,
that's what I was wondering. Are there horses in the bayou? Do they get around in the bayou? Would a horse get stuck in the bayou?
I mean, there's horses in like Louisiana and shit for sure.
But probably just not in the swampier areas, I imagine.
I don't know. I just got back from hanging out down in Atlanta with Rara and friends. It's a pretty cool area. I think I'm like physically allergic to the South, though. I really like got knocked on my ass by Dragon Con and then pollen while I was there.
Yeah, the pollen was pretty brutal. It's always brutal. And it's so funny because everyone up north is like, yeah, fall is here. It's so beautiful outside. And I'm just down here, just like damp and yet still suffering from seasonal allergies. It's a very confusing time biologically for everyone.
Yeah. I mean, plus I was at the end of a tour and I think and then going to Dragon Con was like too much. Like it just beat the shit out of me. If anyone,
if you had not mentioned it, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
No, go ahead.
If you had not mentioned, if I had not known two people going to Dragon Con this year, I would not have known anything about Dragon Con. It was like that. I'm that separated from stuff that's happening literally 10 miles away from me.
It was weird.
It was like there's like no whisper of it. I don't know. It was so weird.
It was very loud at the thing, at the hotel. If you go downtown, if you went within like 3 blocks of downtown, whenever I was taking like a lift down there, the person would be like, "So where is it?" And I'd just kind of be like, "Just drive until you see like Darth Vader's and there's like
Rick and Morty's everywhere."
Yeah.
Okay, so this isn't necessarily like a dragon specific convention. It's all sorts of sci-fi fantasy.
It's basically, it's kind of like ridiculous at this point because it's basically, are you a fandom of any kind of movie or show? Well, we've got it.
Okay.
And it's not necessarily like sci-fi or fantasy anymore. It's like everything.
So they're like Nora Ephron fans showing up.
There was
I would not be surprised.
There was a Ronald McDonald and a Hamburglar and the Burger King all went together like as a group. And then at one point I freaked out and I got a really blurry video of it, but I thought I saw Bibendum, the Michelin Man that we've been making fun of. But I think it was like a guy, there's like a similar white blob guy from like a Pixar
Ghostbusters
thing. I don't think it was that guy. I think it was a third guy.
Is it
guy.
Big Hero 6?
I think it was
The
Big
Pixar
Hero.
guy?
Yeah.
Big guy in Rusty? Similar? Never mind.
No, it's Big Hero from Big Hero 6, which is an excellent Pixar movie. If you haven't seen it.
Is it good? I've never.
Yeah, it's cute. I mean, like I like Pixar. I like their movies. I think they're adorable. And that's a pretty adorable one, honestly.
You know what? I saw the Pixar mom from The Incredibles with the big ass, and the woman playing her played the part pretty well. I got to admit.
She was modeled after.
Yeah.
She might have cosplayed by putting
having that dump truck ass.
Yeah, but it was like surreal and it was pretty cool because at the end of touring you're like exhausted and your mind's all melted. So to just throw it into like this weird mixer where there's just like Willy Wonka wandering around with like Wonder Woman and Grimace and shit. And the guy named
there's like M&Ms and shit. Yeah, it's like it's just completely like corporatized and like ridiculous now. I mean, like they were showing they were doing like film screenings and stuff all weekend, and they had like Harry Potter and I think like Lord of the Rings or something, and then they had like Home Alone, which it's not even A, it's not even remotely around Christmas time, and then like B, who are like the Home Alone stands that are like, oh my god, I watch Home Alone all the time.
Cosplaying as
creepy.
like the homeless guy. There were certain people you couldn't tell if they were cosplaying. Like if you looked too much like a cop, you had to look at the person and be like, are they wearing a mask? They're cosplaying. The real cop is no masking for some reason. The other thing is everyone was drunk. So like, you know, it's like a party. So it's really funny because there's like furries around because it's 2021, you know? And it's like
it's hot as shit to be a furry right now in Atlanta. I'm like, that's a brave move, honestly.
Really?
A guy took off his furry head. As soon as I got there, like an exhausted furry unscrewed his head, which was really like dreamy and weird and surreal.
Isn't that like really taboo to do?
Yeah, that's like a Mandalorian taking off their mask.
Yeah, exactly. He's a furry. He took off his head and then he was like sweating and he looked at me and he was like, he lifted up his drink and he went, "This is a Pedialyte margarita. I put Pedialyte in this." And he like explained
it counters the poison. Yeah, that's how it works.
I was like, cool, man.
I bet that helps with ivermectin, Pedialyte.
Well, let's talk about ivermectin a little bit.
Little segue there.
Yeah, thank you, Anders, for guiding the show with your verbal abilities. But back on topic here, because I opened up talking about this. So, like, listen, I don't have a heavy deep dive on ivermectin for the podcast this week. I've been doing my research, but that turns out that's as valuable as anyone's research on the internet. And if you ask anyone about it, they all just say, well, I've been doing my research. And that means whatever. You know,
read half of the back of the bottle.
Yeah. But I kind of... I want to talk about it a little bit because there's some interesting takes I think we can kind of pick apart. I still stand firmly in the camp that it's very funny, and I think that's where I'm at politically, is that at the very least, horse paste is a very funny phenomenon to have come out through all of this. But like, I kind of was talking to somebody recently who had like a a hot take, as people will, which was that you shouldn't make fun of the horse paste stuff because a lot of people who are working class and rural and etc. have good reasons for being skeptical of like big pharma, which is what the vaccines come from. And like, to explore that a little bit, you know, sure, there are reasons to be wary about that sort of stuff. A lot of people don't know this, but something that's probably not a bad reason to be skeptical of vaccines is like in the Middle East, when they were looking for Osama bin Laden, which happy 9/11 everyone, by the way. The CIA set up like fake vaccination sites and used them to extract people's DNA, and then it was exposed like years later. It was like a citations needed episode about it and stuff. So if you read about that, you can get kind of brain pilled about like conspiracy theories, right? I mean, that's
right.
Not unreasonable. I almost feel like it's irresponsible to be mentioning it, but if you listen to this podcast, you're already mentally ill beyond any salvation. But like, you know, there's that, and then there is sometimes when I talk with like anti-vax people, you know, they're so anti-authoritarian, and they usually don't have a really good way of differentiating like government authority versus capital authority, that like they will sort of make a point that I don't disagree with sometimes, which is that like you probably shouldn't trust these big pharma companies, you know? And there is something to that too. However, like they clearly took the vaccine as soon as it came out, like all the politicians that you're like mistrustful of,
all the people they're citing. Yeah, absolutely.
Like, I don't buy that. It just seems like nothing but a conspiracy theory that it would be like, you know, some sort of secret like mind control thing or whatever, right?
Yeah, I think the fact that, you know, rich white people got it first should be like an indication that it's a real thing. I work with somebody who's is not white and not rich, and she got it she made sure to do it in the richest, whitest neighborhood possible to get the vaccine because she was like skeptical.
That's
and
smart.
I totally get that. And I guess it is conceivable that it's a different vaccine for different people, but but it's not, and it's I think the only way to reach people is one-on-one, honestly. Like if people see their friends are getting the vaccine and ending up fine, then they'll be more likely to get it. But yeah, that's
totally worked with people I've just talked to at work, especially that are like really just, you know, like low information, or they're just, you know, they're seeing so much conflicting information and getting so much bad information from the people they know that they just need to see someone that's walking around that's like had the vaccine that's fine, and hear that story. And then like sometimes that's all it takes is seeing someone they trust take it, and then it kind of starts a domino effect, you know?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. When it first came out, there was like a week that I think got memory hold, but the big urban legend was that it makes you grow a tail, which is like really cute. But like,
yeah, that happened to me, actually.
Yeah.
Kind of nice.
But that's cool.
Shallow
though.
Hal, except 10 times bigger.
It's cool to have a tail, though.
Yeah.
So I think that's like we should advertise that more.
Uh-huh.
You know? But like without even getting into veering off into vaccine stuff, because that's like something else I probably want to touch on with the mandate and stuff. The horse paste thing is so funny. Like, because like I said, I was on tour, and so usually I'm pretty online, but like when you're really busy and you're like driving 8 hours every day and then you have a show and stuff like that, you have this weird experience where you don't like, if you see Twitter, you see it like once that day or whatever, and you don't have enough time to fully immerse. So you step outside of it, and this weird time distortion thing happens. And then, like, because the news is so weird now, post whatever the fuck happened in the universe 4 or 5 years ago, like, I just remember, like, at one point sitting on a couch on, like, a day off or something and getting online, everyone was just talking about horse paste. And I was like, what? Like, cool. Like, what the fuck happened? So I started reading about it since I got back, and I guess here's the best thing I could suss out. And big, Joe Rogan experience asterisk. I am not a doctor thing here or whatever, but like, what it sounds like is people that don't want to take the vaccine are doing. They all sort of, just like the hydroxychloroquine thing a year ago. There's a new thing people have fixated on and decided is like a medicine that they don't want you to know about, and it's ivermectin, which if you're like an annoying lib and you're on the other side of the story going, that's not medicine, you're not seeing the whole picture here, which is that ivermectin is a horse parasite medicine, a dewormer that you use in like cattle and horses. There's a horse on the box, but that's main sign, I think. But it's sometimes prescribed in humans. But here's the thing, right? It's very rarely prescribed in humans, and it's to treat like a really specific parasite. And when it's prescribed by a doctor in humans, which is not what's happening here, it comes in the form of tablets. And I
was going to say it's like a totally different dose because a horse would need way more. I mean, like logically, right?
Yeah.
So you're taking a horse-sized dose of ivermectin paste rather than the pill form that's for humans. It doesn't make any chemist will tell you, like, that doesn't make any fucking sense.
The FDA,
it's just dangerous.
There's if you Google this, the first thing that pops up for a reason is the FDA put out a statement that's like, do not eat the paste. And they explain the difference. Like, sometimes when people are prescribed to take it, it's a tablet that they've dosed down to a human size because you are not 700 pounds like a horse or whatever. And
well, as we all know, the FDA are all radical leftists, so we don't listen to them anymore.
That's part of it, right? It has to.
Everyone's a radical leftist this day and age. It's amazing. We're everywhere and we're nowhere.
Yeah. This is equine Marxism. This is what it's referred to or whatever.
What is it like? Equihuman, the animal from Sorry to Bother You, that for some reason was not the first thing on everybody's mind when people heard horse medicine.
Right.
I think it's just because not that many people saw that movie. I saw a hot take. Somebody said
crazy, which is crazy to me because it's a great movie.
Maybe if the people who are taking the ivermectin saw it, they would not take the ivermectin because they'd be like, oh, they're trying to turn us into horses. And this is part of that. So it's actually more anti-establishment if we take the vaccine because they don't want us to take the vaccine. Some like reverse psychology or something.
Yeah.
I think we're way beyond reverse psychology. The time for reverse psychology would have been like before the vaccine came out so they could really hype up and be like, no, we don't think you should take the vaccine, and just do that covertly. And then through like Fox News, especially. But the time for that would have been, like 10 months ago. Not now, not anymore.
I don't know, man. I'll sit and stare at the internet sometimes and like try to plan out like a chess match in my head, like how to do the mental judo with all these people to put them in a position where they are trying to take the vaccine. But like, I don't think we have any control over it because it's just this kind of like, it's a bad buzzword, but like a contrarian sort of tendency to just go against whatever a specific person is trying to make them do. Because like, I feel like there was a point in the beginning where these people were like, give me the vaccine, Dr. Fauci. And then he was like, here it is. And now they're like, fuck you, I'm not taking it from you. So
yeah, I bet it's going to be in like
the other vaccines. Cuba, no, they don't fucking count.
I bet
people trying to delegitimize the Cuba vaccine because it's like, how safe can that be? And it's like, I don't know if you like ever been to the doctors in this country if you say shit like that.
I bet in like 20 years when COVID is, knock on wood, eliminated, people are going to want the vaccine. They're going to be like, yeah, it didn't work for COVID. But it does work for, whatever freaking crazy ass disease. Yeah. We have in then.
Yeah.
Like we're actually growing tails and we need the vaccine to stop them.
Or it's just, it's great.
Or make them longer.
Right.
It's like, you don't want like a shitty like little tail that doesn't do anything. What's the point of that?
Right. Go all the way.
You want a longer tail.
That's
I
right.
want an apprehensile tail. The thing that a kangaroo has that you can lean back on. That sounds tight.
Oh, yeah.
You've seen them?
Just like a traveling chair.
Yeah, like a businessman at
Sit
the
down
airport
anywhere.
who just leans against a wall and then a weird little like orthopedic thing comes out of his backpack.
Or out of his ass. Have you seen the ones that are just like strapped to your ass?
Oh God, that sucks. It's too far.
It's literally like an airplane tray, like taped to your ass. And then you like do the sitting down motion and the legs come out and you're like sitting on the legs of the chair. This is a real product, by the way. I'm not just like talking, bullshit. This is a real product you can buy right now.
Who has the confidence to use that though? I would never. I would just think I was going to fall backwards all the time.
Yeah. Like what if you just like forget to do a maneuver, like you're drunk or something, or you just, you're tired and you're just like, fuck, I forgot to flip my chair thingy. And then you just like broke your tailbone.
Ironically enough, your tailbone.
Oh God.
Yeah, sorry. That was bad. It's
early. I forced y'all to come to wake up earlier probably than usual. Wait, you're 3 hours behind me, aren't you?
No,
I think we're the same time.
No, we're in New York.
Shit. Sorry. I wake up at like 7 a.m. every day. So I'm just like, yeah, you guys want to record at like 11 a.m.? Cool.
Yeah. The funny thing about doing stand-up is that you perform in the middle of the night for 10 years, 11 years, 20 years, 30 years, whatever, how long it takes. And then if you get a thing that pays well, like radio, your job is to do it at like 6 a.m. every day. It's like a nightmare, Faustian torture. It's like a Saw scenario or something. Like, you like doing jokes, do you? In the late at night when you're drunk? Well, now you'll do them with coffee when you're exhausted.
Right. Just vibrating off the walls.
Yeah.
That's why I don't really do comedy anymore. Because I'm like, I have to do what? Open mic. Okay. And like, I don't know, Mike Gams, who also stayed with me when you were here, Jake, I don't know why I'm saying that. Not for your benefit, for everyone listening.
Oh, you're doing good radio, like a comic. You're explaining to the audience.
So Mike Gams was staying at the same time Jake was at my house. And oh my God, where was I going with this? What was I talking about? I'm sorry. It is
We're
really
talking about
early
being
for me
up
still.
late and early and shit like that.
Oh, yeah. So like y'all were coming in like 3, 4 in the morning and I would be like waking up at 7 a.m. and just a tornado through my living room and leading into my office. And it was just so funny because I was like, man, I remember when I used to do this shit all the time because of comedy. And now I'm just like, let me drink my green tea. And like, I feel so much better about my life since I quit comedy, which is like so ridiculous. But it's also like I was living a little bit vicariously through you guys because I was like, I remember when I could stay up till 3 a.m. That's fucking dope.
Yeah. Well, you seemed a lot healthier than us. We were all throwing up and stuff, dressed like a Eminem or a Shang Tsung from the con and just dying.
I just don't think that there's any wrong way to approach life right now. And so I'm not judgmental about people doing shitty, unhealthy things. Cause it's like, it's a really hard case to make to be like, yeah, you should like drink a protein shake this morning. Maybe you shouldn't get drunk today because I can't honestly give you a reason why not to, because everything sucks. But it's like, some people are just fucking doing it to get through it. And like, I fuck it. Or some people just like, that's their fucking lifestyle. And like, I don't know. I don't think there's any wrong way to be living at the moment, just as long as you're not like hurting other people,
Yeah. Yeah. That makes sense.
Right. That's technically hedonism, which is not a bad. I know a guy who's writing something about hedonism is misunderstood. It's not a bad thing. It's just do what you want.
Do as thou wilt.
I mean,
do as thou wilt.
Hedonists I know though are they're still somewhat like socially responsible hedonists. They're masking up wherever they go. They're vaccinated and shit. And it's because it's like, I don't know. I think there's kind of like some parallels in the sense to hedonism and Buddhism of like do no harm, and like have fun, do no harm.
Right. Because harming other people,
leaving the world a better place.
harming other people and choosing to not harm other people is good for yourself. That's ultimately kind of a selfish decision to decide to not harm people and to, you could argue that it all comes down to the self ultimately. I don't know that I believe that, but hedonism's fair play.
I don't believe that either. I think that kind of, I'm not going to get into philosophy because I'm way too stoned to do that this morning.
You're good. That was an editing note at Anders.
Sorry, that was
Anders has this thing where he slaps.
I'm sorry, I talk with my hands,
and it like sometimes knocks gear loose and fucks up the show. So he just did it and then looked at me with his eyebrows up, like, did it fuck up the thing?
A conversation. I was the one that waded into a conversation. Was like, I don't know what I'm talking about, but here I am.
No, we were talking about Satanism, baby, ethical hedonism. I'm into it. I do poppers all the time and whippets, and it doesn't hurt anyone. So I think I could be a Satanist. I think that tracks. Let's talk about you a little bit, though. We're talking about how we're living. You're forklift certified. That's a good way to be living.
Yes.
That's so funny. Can you tell us how that happened?
Yeah. So for anybody listening that doesn't know who I am, I've been a stand-up comic for a while now. Like if we're including pandemic years, I've been a comic for almost 9 years. I recently just stopped trying to be a comic.
Congratulations.
I'm just trying to be funny. Thank you.
We should have like a party for people that quit comedy, like a bar mitzvah or something.
Well, I didn't want to make a big deal out of it because I think it's lame when people are like on Facebook with this like mega post about like, I'm quitting comedy because I am pursuing a career in real estate. Like I'm not going to like be one of those people that does that shit because I think it's lame. But I'm also not like quitting comedy. I'm just quitting trying to be a professional comedian.
Yeah.
So totally. It's like, it's not really like a big thing. It's just a fucking like different part of my life that I'm entering into.
Well, people that aren't leftists like us often don't understand that's a thing you can do because everything has to be a job,
Right.
Yeah. Exactly. And and it's like, even though I'm still doing podcasting stuff and media stuff, which I love to do. I'm not trying to be famous at it. If I get some cool shit out of it, like some cool opportunities, and I get to, make an impact in a positive way, like on our movement, then I think that's more what I'm aiming for than anything else. But so to pay my bills, because I didn't pay my bills like as a comedian, I'm not going to like pretend, I'm not going to pretend I was like making all that money. But I've been a dancer, stripper for almost 3 years in Atlanta. So that's how I've been making money. Also why it's a lot easier for me to quit comedy.
Yeah.
Because I'm still performing. I'm just performing in a really different way.
It would be funny if when you did comedy, people threw tons of drink tickets at you, like when you're stripping, like they made it rain drink tickets on you and shit.
Oh my God, that's so great.
But you only get 2, so it's like you can't even. That wouldn't even work.
No, that's a very quick way for me to get alcohol poisoning for sure. I've been dancing for almost 3 years. I'm looking to change careers, but it's kind of like it's a slow thing to do. And it's also weird to like try to have a career in this world we're living in. It feels very stupid and strange sometimes, but it's like, I'm just trying to do something that can keep me sane if I'm going to have to, work through the apocalypse. I want it to be something I like doing.
Yeah. So how did you end up becoming?
So I'm a stripper and comedian. Oh, I'm sorry. I totally lost the thread of conversation and all this. Yes. So
no, that is an important detail though, because I realized I just said, it's funny that you're forklift certified. And then I just realized without the context that you're a stripper, that isn't actually that funny. That's just normal.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So I'm constantly, because I'm really open about being a stripper online and I have no shame around it. People are just constantly bombarding me with trying to like make me feel bad about what I do for a living, which doesn't work, but is also sometimes just like really frustrating. But people would tell me shit like, like, oh, are you a stripper because you don't know how to do anything else? It's like I had like just didn't exist before the age of 29, which is when I started being a stripper. It's like, I was just waiting around like for my entire adult life so I could be a stripper because I don't know how to do anything else. But it's shit like that where it's like, oh, do you not know how to do anything else? Can you not get any other job? like, oh yeah, you're a fucking dumbass. You don't have any real skills. That's why you're a fucking stripper. So I just like got kind of tired of people telling me this shit. And even though I have like a really, really rich work history because I've had a lot of different kinds of jobs, I was like, fuck it. What's an easy certification that would really like shut people up if they're like, you don't have any real skills? And I was like, I was looking into it and I was researching it. And I was like, oh, forklift certifications. It doesn't take any time at all to get certified. The class I went to was a 4-hour class on a Saturday.
Nice.
I had to wake up at 8 a.m. and go to the next county over on a Saturday.
Yeah.
So I could take this 4-hour forklift certification class. But basically, I just did it to win internet arguments. So
Much respect for that.
it was a really expensive bit. It was like $300 for that class. But I like now I just have that. I just got that thing on me all day. I keep it in my wallet.
Oh,
If anybody needs some forklift shit moved around on the fly, like I've got you.
What do you say to critics who say forklift? That doesn't sound very efficient. Why don't we have a spoon lift?
Yeah. What do you say to those people who exist and are real?
That's what I think every time I hear forklift. I assume there's a good argument for why it's a fork and not a spoon, but I have yet to hear it.
The prongs, man. It's all about the prongs.
Okay.
Like those prongs, like you can put them in holes that lift
gotcha.
other shapes, like pallets.
Yeah, listen.
Of course. Okay. Insertion.
She knows
that
about
makes
it.
sense.
She took the class for 4 hours. Are you certified for life now?
I think I am. No, I have to update my certification in like 3 or 5 years. I forget which one.
Okay.
But it's like the class itself, like, I don't know. I find myself like thinking about stuff in the class all the time. Like keep it low, move it slow.
That
like
sounds like
one rule.
It might also apply to your day job.
Yeah. Keep it low, move it slow, which is great because when you're pole dancing, everyone thinks you have to like move super fast and stuff. It's like, no, you pop a squat and you twerk, keep it slow.
Mm-hmm.
If there's nobody there, like if I'm working and it's really slow, I'm not doing all these crazy pole tricks, right? I'm fucking keeping it low, moving it slow.
Yeah.
So I find it is applicable in my day job as well.
Well, that's a really funny bit. I'd imagine works well when dumbasses try to come at you with shit like that because I don't know. To me, it just seems like dancing at a strip club, it would require a lot of skills in it of itself that are entirely respectable to me, and that I don't think I would know how to do that shit.
No, it's hard. It's like people just think like, oh, you're pretty and you just show up and people throw money at you. And it's like, I've seen the prettiest girls in the world just fumble the bag because they don't have any people skills or they're really dumb and they just don't know how to like secure the bag. When I say secure the bag, it's the lingo for fucking making your money, like making as much money as possible. And I've seen people just fumble that shit because they don't have people skills or they're really stupid or they're really mean and whoever they're talking to is not into that. A lot of it is really in intuition that you build. And the longer you work as a dancer, the greater that intuition kind of builds. And so you can that's why, there's this like misconception that if you're a stripper, you have like a shelf life and that, the older you get, the less money you make. But that's just not true. There's just so much more potential for money when you actually know what you're doing and you're comfortable in your job, because you can also spot people that are wasting your time really quick. You don't sit there with them for 30 minutes at a time, like some baby strippers do. And, and then they give you like $10 or something. So it's like, there is a way to like build on these skills. And as long as you can afford cosmetic surgery and fillers, then you can work for forever, baby, if you're thinking about it out there.
It always seemed to me like that it's a very delicate balance between being nice and knowing how to maybe not be nice in some situations. Is that fair to say? Like,
It's crazy. It's weird because it's a weird occupation because of the emotional labor aspects of it. But it is also kind of liberating to because there's times when I don't want to be nice, when someone's like, you know, trying to assault you or something and trying to put a hand where it doesn't belong. And you've reached the point where you can't be nice anymore and you have to be firm. The reason I like my job is because there's nobody, and I don't know, I can't say this for every strip club. Some clubs are pretty abusive, but I'd say like the clubs that I've worked at, like I'm not forced to talk to anybody I don't want to talk to. If I was a server and someone was trying to sexually assault me, I'd probably still have to like hang around that person, get their drink orders and shit. But as a stripper, if I'm telling a person, no, don't do that, and they won't stop, I can just fucking walk away.
Right. Yeah. Right.
I can just walk away from it and not deal with it. Right. So in a lot of ways, to me, it's better than a normal industry job.
There's 3 occupations I think about all the time in tandem, which are bartender, comedian, sex worker, and like because they're all like very like a lot of them are counterintuitive to leftist shit because you can't really unionize them because you're like very individual and you're kind of a gunslinger and you're kind of just like have to work alone and stuff, but they're kind of fascinating. You're kind of a
Ronin in that regard. You're just kind of like, you got a code, you're on the road alone. Sometimes you run into other Ronin and you got to fight or link up or some shit.
Well, I think what's interesting about those types of jobs, and like an increasing number of those types of jobs are kind of existing as like capitalism moves into this thing where we're all like independent contractors and gig workers and stuff like that, is that traditionally when we look at jobs through like a Marxist lens, you know, we're looking at the precarity and that as like a disadvantage. But in specific jobs, the precarity, you know, in combination with the fact that the thing is really, you know, like, what do you call it? Like necessary to the boss or whatever, that creates that classic tension where you can then unionize or something like that. And it's not really the case with these types of jobs, but there's this interesting thing where like, because the same thing that's a disadvantage, which is that you don't have any job security and you're just this basically like self-employed person who sets up wherever they want and doesn't have any of the things that you would get out of organizing and stuff like that. But for the same reason that those things are happening to you, you also have all this fucking control, which is cool, which is something that you just deal with in the nature of these jobs. So like you can like you can make your own hours to a certain extent, or you can find an employer that treats you better and that lets you slap the guy when they fucking go too far. And I mean that in all 3 of those jobs, like whether you're serving him drinks or you're telling him jokes and he storms the stage or you're fucking dancing or whatever. Like you have this control where you can like tell people fuck off or whatever. And it fries a lot of leftist brains.
To a certain extent. Yeah. And again, like what's interesting about all 3 of these things that you describe, a comedian, bartender, and stripper specifically, is that, you know, again, it really varies from club to club and it really varies from employer to employer. But you do have this like, I think this like cowboy sense of freedom where you're just kind of like, yeah, you're out on the road. You're like, you know, you're a lone wolf most of the time. And sometimes that's fun. But again, it does make it really hard to organize in your workplace. And I'd say on the, you know, having been all 3 bartender, comedian, and stripper, I could say that the hardest one I think that would be to unionize is stripper. It's hard because it is a very atomized, individualistic workplace. It is highly competitive. Because it is a lower barrier for entry, you get all kinds of people that come into it. And because we live in a very capitalistic society, you get a lot of, you know, wannabe capitalists, and you get a lot of people willing to fuck other people over. And it's, you know, it's hard to build a sense of community in a place where also like the club I'm at, really high turnover rate. Like I want to say it's about, when I walk into the club these days, I'll know like maybe a handful of girls out of like 25 girls, like 5 girls that day. And the rest of them are like new. And I just like don't know them. And to have a workplace turnover that high is an incredible difficulty. And the reason I know this for sure is because that was Amazon's tactic to to stifle unionization is to just have this reckless, like, we're going to work people into the ground, and so that they don't stick around long enough to be able to unionize. And I think there was like an Intercept report about that, actually. And so these are like anti-union tactics, right? But also, like, you know, if people are leaving a club and there's a really high turnover in a club, there's a couple things probably going on. There's probably abuses by management, which could include tip abuse, like exorbitant house fees, which for anybody who's never been a dancer, house fees are what you pay to work that day. Like, strippers have to pay to go to work. So it's kind of like when comedians have to come in and buy like 2 drinks, but on a way worse scale.
Damn.
Or like a hairdresser, you got to rent the booth out for the day. Like, people don't know this stuff about these jobs that are like trades and stuff like that. But they're like this weird
and because
shit.
you are freelance, you know, and because you know, Georgia in particular is abysmal with worker protections. You know, these clubs get away with charging girls like 60. So it's at my club, it starts at 60% of your tip outs. So if I make $100, I'm paying 60 of it back to the house. And that percentage goes down the more money you make. So it's a tiered system. So the incentive is to like work your ass off, make as much money as possible, because that way your tip out will be lower. Your like tip out percent would be lower. Other clubs have like a straight up fee, and sometimes that fee is like $60 a shift, $40 a shift, whatever. Other clubs, they'll charge on like if like your VIP rooms and shit like that, or like a percentage of your VIP or a percentage of your like lap dances. So this is like all this, like, and because it varies even within like the city of Atlanta, this varies from club to club. It makes it really hard to get people on the same page about like what it is that they would want, you know, like what demands they would want. So some people, their house fees are really low, so they're not concerned about that. They're more concerned about security. Some people, their house fees are really high. That's what they're concerned about. Other people, they're concerned about like being able to set their own schedule. Right. So it just, it depends on workplace to workplace, which, you know, that's honestly the biggest difficulty, is just getting all those statistics and getting all those numbers together. Right. You know,
I do remember reading, I think this was in Commune a few years ago, if I'm not mistaken. It was about how there was a strip club where the strippers were able to unionize, but not make it they didn't do an official accredited union, but they did do like sort of an informal union. Is that common in your experience? Like maybe not the official thing, but you do form like a sort of a solidarity network within the workplace?
Well, so that's kind of like what I'm working on right now. Okay. And again, like when we talk about unionizing and stuff, you know, this is a long, steady process. Like this is definitely you're not gonna be able to do this within a couple months unless you get all your friends hired that are socialists and and plan on doing that, which you really shouldn't talk about publicly if that's what you're going to do, by the way.
Although socialists typically are hotter than the general population. That is established.
I'm true. Saying like, we honestly need more socialist strippers, like if I'm being honest. But my kind of strategy. You don't want a capitalist
up there wearing a top hat and a sash.
Monocle.
Yeah.
So like my theory behind how we can like kind of start approaching unionization, like how we can start conceiving of it, is to encourage community within people's own clubs. So what I'm trying to do right now is kind of just start more social interactions outside of the club with with the girls I like, and kind of form a solidarity network that way, and kind of get together and do mutual aid projects, you know, because I had many dancers approach me and be like, I want to do like a mutual aid thing. How do I even get started? So like the energy is there, because a lot of times, again, like dancers come from all different kinds of backgrounds. And there's a lot of like people that come from really poor communities or really poor backgrounds. And those people are usually the most excited to help other people. So you could really do a lot of solidarity work and a lot of community building around mutual aid for your neighborhood, like mutual aid for homeless people or mutual aid for street sex workers or something like that. But this is kind of like my working theory right now, is to really strengthen and define that community network in your workplace. And then from there, start saying like, okay, what can we do to help each other? And once you've built like up that trust, then you can kind of start talking about, well, what do we want to see from this place? You know, because we're taking care of each other. How do we want this place, you know, to be worth our labor? You know, so that's kind of like my working theory about it right now. Sorry if I'm rambling.
No, this is what I brought you on the show for.
Yay.
This is like perfect. It was either this or talking about horse paste for an hour, which I'm running out of material about.
I wonder if they'll start serving ivermectin cocktails at, you know, select strip clubs.
Well, you could, in theory, make an apple teeny with ivermectin because it tastes like applesauce. There's
really?
There's
my God,
horse
are you serious?
on the box, and then it says applesauce flavor.
Oh, of course, because that's what they eat. Yeah.
Because horses like apples, right? But the problem is, it's what, like, animal food is like
for animals.
It's what's for their palate, ostensibly, and not yours. So all these videos are of these people going, applesauce paste. That, fuck you, Dr. Fauci. That sounds a lot more tasty than a vaccine. And then they eat it, and they're like, this doesn't really taste like apples in the way that I thought it was gonna, because it doesn't have like sugar.
Right.
And shit.
It's not just pumped full of high fructose corn syrup.
Right.
Yeah.
That's what they're imagining, is that it's gonna taste like Apple Jacks or something. So you could make like probably a really bitter appletini, or I guess you could even sweeten it up with like some simple syrup or something like that.
All right.
You know what? Maybe I just had $1 million idea.
Yeah.
I'm going to be a traveling.
I was going to say, like, I feel like the way to trick people into taking the vaccine was just like offer them a free soda somewhere and then just pour it in.
I think maybe we're overthinking this. What if we just put the vaccine in the horse paste?
Yeah, that's true. Right. What would there be any side effects if the horses take it?
Well, the thing is, people are saying
horses can get COVID, right?
I think so. Remember when we went to the zoo in Atlanta? Remember those apes that we saw? Yeah, they have COVID now. I saw on Twitter.
Shit.
Yeah, so the silverback gorillas could get it, which is really sad.
Oh my God, that's so depressing. What the fuck?
But
so they didn't have so we went to like this part of the zoo where it was like a wild encounter kind of thing, and we pet the white rhino at the zoo.
Yeah.
But there was also like a shut down lion, like Meet the Lions, and they had to shut that down because of COVID, because apparently lions can get COVID too.
Because they're giant cats.
Crazy.
And cats can get COVID.
Yeah.
Well, apparently the apes can too, or they did, which sucks.
I just rewatched.
We got to get them the horse paste.
Yeah. I just rewatched Osmosis Jones. And
great flick.
Yeah, it's amazing. 20-year anniversary. And it's passed through a gorilla. I've forgotten. That Bill Murray is eating a hard-boiled egg, which I had to shield my eyes because I find hard-boiled eggs disgusting. But he drops it he's a zoo worker, and he drops it into the gorilla thing, and the gorilla like licks it and gives it back to him, and then he eats it and gets the evil germ stuck in his body.
Interesting.
Jake, have you ever seen this movie?
No.
We should do an episode on it. It's a great flick.
That sounds insane.
It's actually pretty great. It's like partially animated, partially live action, and Bill. So it's about this. It's about this guy and his body, and Bill Murray plays the guy, and he ingests some like really exotic like virus or something, and then inside his body is all like cartoon land, and one of the is he a white blood cell?
Yes, Chris Rock plays a white blood cell. Yeah,
yeah, he plays like a anthropomorphic white blood cell, and so he's going through like the cities in his body that are all like made of his organs and shit. It's great. It's actually a really awesome film.
Okay.
Yeah, and it's great. It's educational for kids. The mayor is like, we got to keep things going. We're gonna go get some wings in a couple days, and then there's another organism running for mayor that's like, no, we got to start eating salads, and it's a lot of fun.
Like halfway through the movie, the human just injects himself with hydroxychloroquine, and the entire body dies, and then everyone's like, what the fuck is happening?
You know what? They should reboot it for COVID just to explain to people what the fuck is happening.
Yeah.
Honestly, yes, because that was the only way I knew how some of that shit worked. Yay, public school.
But it's like, no, we're still working within the framework of a paradigm that these people will reject, though. Because if you come out with Osmosis Jones 2 and it explains why you shouldn't eat the paste, because the paste makes you sterile, apparently. I don't know if this is true either.
No, but Osmosis Jones is a cop, though.
That's what I'm saying. Well,
it might actually work. Yeah, like the white, like he's like a white blood cell / cop.
And he's white.
And he's like
they
trying to solve the mystery of the virus. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So they would listen to a cop if a cop was like, yo.
True.
Interesting. Right? I feel like they're selective with stuff like that. Like if they don't like what he's pushing, then they're like, no, he's a China cop. And he's
But everybody likes Chris Rock. He's universally loved.
But do they like Jack
Chris
A?
Rock as a cop.
I don't know if these horse paste people are part of the universal group that loves Chris Rock. Just going out on a limb here.
Yeah.
I don't know. Have you ever met like a really old, like racist white guy that like loves Dave Chappelle? Like they're out there.
Absolutely.
You know?
Yeah. Actually, like I was making a mean joke about them that was reductive, but honestly, those people love stand-up comedy and they love Chappelle and all those fucking guys, and often love comics who would entirely disagree with everything they believe in, but they just believe that George Carlin or whatever would have believed in the horse paste and stuff, you know.
Yeah, like I'm like specifically thinking of guys like my dad who love like stand-up comics and are like, oh yeah, you know, like I'm not racist, I just like Trump, kind of like wacky dudes. And you're just like, okay, well, we got to like channel this wacky energy somehow. I haven't figured out how to do it. Obviously you haven't either, but I'm just putting it out there. If we had Chris Rock as a white blood cell / cop, and he was like, yo, man, the vaccine's super cool. Like you should, I don't know. I can't do a Chris Rock impression, obviously.
That vaccine didn't go vaccine. Wait, fuck, I fucked it up. That tiger didn't go crazy. That tiger went tiger. Okay, so tell me about this thing in Atlanta where the cops made their own town to shoot guns at each other and shit.
Oh, yeah. So it's not made yet. That's what that's what we're fighting for, is to make sure it's not made. But it's called Cop City. It's kind of like the moniker it's been given by the locals here. So Cop City is a proposed massive new police training center, which is being mainly backed by the Atlanta Police Foundation. And it's basically a facility that is expected to cost $90 million and include a state-of-the-art explosive testing area and some firing ranges, and also a mock city where police can test out urban methods of policing. So it is, just like this really monstrous development that the cops are really, really pushing for, and that a lot of city council and their corporate backers are really, really pushing for. And in order to build the facility, the city would have to demolish 300 acres of forest, which is already currently being used as a firing range for the police in certain areas of the forest. But it's going to have this huge environmental impact on the, Atlanta's canopy, which is like helps protect it from the worst aspects of climate change. But yeah, that's kind of like the rundown of what exactly it is. So it's not built yet. It would take another 3 to 5 years to get it built. So once it's okayed, which it technically has been okayed. So.
Oh, right. They just passed the law, right?
Yeah. So what happened was city council had pushed back the vote twice because there was a lot of criticism and a lot of organizers and citizens being like, we haven't had any public input about this massive project that's going to come not out of the existing police department budget, but is going to be in addition to. So the police budget in the past year in Atlanta, by the way, has risen by 7%.
Right.
They didn't defund shit in Atlanta. And that's a total myth that conservatives have been like running around saying about major cities, is that they've been defunded. But Atlanta's budget increased by 7%. But this project, this $90 million project, would come out of the city's coffers.
God.
Yeah, I saw that. Not even out of the 7% increase.
Not even out of the police budget. It's a separate expense.
It's crazy how much cops love just buying themselves new shit to play with. Like, I looked at the mock-ups of it, and there's like there's a burn building, so that actually, I mean, sure, you need to train firefighters, I guess, on like burning building, but there's just this building that's going to constantly be on fire, which seems insane.
Wait, for the cops and the firefighters?
I guess.
So the firefighters like learn how to run in and save people, and the cops learn how to run in and shoot people?
I don't know.
I guess as they're...
Yeah, see, I haven't heard anything from firefighters being like, yeah, we want this. It's been mostly cops and then, like pro-police members of city council, and then just like alleged progressive members of city council that are, just taking the police's line, like hook, line, and sinker about how it's for public safety. And it's because there's rising crime waves in Atlanta and they have to respond to this, even though the fucking facility won't be built for another 3 to 5 years. But it's also just, there's a lot of people backing this, but it's mainly the Atlanta Police Foundation. So the groups leading the pushback against this are Community Movement Builders, Sunrise Movement Atlanta, and Atlanta DSA, who are in coalition under Stop Cop City.
Yeah. Yes, I looked at the mock-ups of it. I'm trying to find it right now, but it's like, there's also like a horse range for them to practice. Really? Like, what new shit?
You're saving money on medicine that way, yeah.
Oh, yeah. Okay, wait. Now it all goes all the way to the top. Yeah, there's like a horse range.
What the fuck does that mean?
I don't know. There's like a pasture in the brochure. There's a bunch of little like horses standing around, and then there's also four-wheelers out there for them to like practice four-wheeling around, doing tricks with horses or some shit. Okay. There's like a dog park where they train the police dogs with this like ramps and hoops and shit. Woof. Like they're in like a dog show.
Oh my God. Yeah. So people are just like pissed off about this. And so basically the vote was pushed back twice over this past summer. And then on Wednesday, City Council, after getting over 17 hours of public comment called in, they went to a vote. And they voted to approve building for Cop City and approve funding for it, rather. And it was voted in 10-4, despite like 70% of the residents that called in on the public comment. They were opposed to Cop City. So City Council just doesn't give a fuck about regular people in Atlanta. It's all about the corporations that are going to profit off of this. Because there's also talk of like a film studio being like put up in that area as well. So it's like 300 acres of public land being dedicated to this $90 million. And most people in Atlanta don't fucking want it. Like it's just been proven. And even our own mayor is just like basically just throwing everybody under the bus and is just like, oh, the city council members who voted in favor of this are so courageous, and like basically admitted that the morale and retention of the police department is that administration's priority and not like, what anybody else has to say.
Yeah. What are some of the things that could be done with the land or just nothing? People, what are some of the alternatives people want?
I mean, the alternatives would, I think that some of the alternatives proposed are obviously like public affordable housing, because Atlanta doesn't have fucking any. Like there's, I read somewhere there was a statistic going around, and I forget who reported on this originally, but there was a statistic going around that around 90% of new buildings in Atlanta, of new residential buildings in Atlanta, are luxury apartment buildings and condos, so luxury housing. And which means there's like literally nowhere for regular working people to live in the city, if you are in any way impoverished. And, our minimum wage here is the same as everywhere else. And we're experiencing the same problems as everywhere else. But the wealth inequality in Atlanta is so bad. It's like, it's probably the worst like in the country is what some people were telling me.
Yeah. I was trying to find a video because there's a visual mock-up of the cop city that you can walk through, but I can't. It's like the only one I can find is also on a Fox News like just page. So when you open it, it starts playing all like these other videos at the same time. So it's like impossible to on the fly like dump into the podcast here. But I went to YouTube. Do you
have like an ad blocker on or what?
It doesn't really matter. I mean, I was just trying to find on the fly so I could look at the other little weird parts of it, because there's like a couple of, it's just Hogwarts for cops. There's like, oh, there's the theater where we do the warrior training and stuff. But I fucking went to YouTube and I looked up Cop City Atlanta mock-up, and the first thing that pops up is this 4-hour video called "Exclusive Video: Atlanta Police Officer Defends His Actions After Breaking Man's Ankle," and it's just this
Jesus Christ,
really angry looking white ball dude who I guess is gonna talk at the camera for 4 hours. So yeah, shit sounds fucked up down there. Yikes, that sucks. I wanted to report on that before the thing got passed, but it turns out it did. Yeah, so now I don't know what else to say about it other than
yeah, there's going to be like a debrief next week. And I just want to clarify, I have had very little to do with this campaign. It's just because Atlanta DSA was really, really involved with it. I've been abreast of it more than most people in the city, I think, have. But really, it's like that coalition of people that have been canvassing and doing a lot of education around it are the reason why we know so much about it. But yeah, CMB, Sunrise Movement, and DARK, which is the Atlanta campaign, defund APD, refund communities. So it's like our defund the police campaign for the city. But yeah, so it was a coalition of all those teams coming together and all those organizers, and they're doing a debrief next week about next steps, because it was kind of expected when the vote was tabled the first time. Everyone was just like, wow, I can't believe we got a vote, because it was for sure going to pass if there wasn't any work around this. And we managed to flip some people. So we have 4 people on our fucking side now on city council that have been like, okay, we're going to listen to you.
Yeah.
And then there's 10 that just don't give a fuck. So
I mean, seems
I think it's going to be like more public pressure campaigns on individuals who voted for this next, but I'm not sure for sure.
Right on. I mean, it seems like just yesterday, Amazon HQ in Queens was an inevitability, and then boom, it didn't happen.
Yeah.
Yeah. So let's see what comes down the pike, what happens. Police stuff is so kind of frustrating to me. I don't know if this is even relevant, but I was just talking to somebody about it the other night, and there's this thing with like defund where people say like, oh, it's only white liberals, and yeah, it's only these, white kids with the dreadlocks or whatever. I don't know what voice I'm doing, but like, you say like people in the communities of color that are being policed don't want this presence, and it's not true. I think what it is it's it's like a racket, because like, you used to have the mob, and then you had gangs, and now you have the police, which are occupying the same space, which is like the reason people are like, no, like you can't take them away, is because there's not anything else to fill in the space. Well, the vacuum need not be there if you have funding and stuff, and you just have like a not to get into fucking anti-police theory and stuff at the end of a podcast, but like I've just been thinking about this lately. It's just a fucking racket. It's just a goddamn gang. Like they're just like intimidating you into funding them to be there.
Yeah, because public safety is a huge
100% what it is. Yeah, I mean, I think like a lot of people are just scared of them. I think a lot of politicians are way too scared of the police because they're so powerful. These police unions are very, very powerful, and there have already been proposals about where this money could go, how it could go towards resources for the community, for that, especially that 300 acres and around that, and the people in it. And there's definitely abolitionists out there that have done like so much work around this. And I encourage people to like go and explore abolitionist theory, because what abolitionists like, defunding is the path to abolition. Like, and I actually really do believe that. I believe that it starts with defunding, but we've seen how even the slightest amount of pushback of funding them has led to actual like increases, and it's like an acceleration of the police state, as we know it, and the acceleration of the country deeper and deeper into this state that is going to be incredibly difficult to pull ourselves out of. But it's been an interesting testing ground, like Atlanta, for what that pushback looks like and what can be done and who we can sway. So even though, I'm not going to sit here and be like overly optimistic and be like, yeah, we did it. We even though we failed, we fucking did it. It's like, no, there's a lot of work that needs to be done, and they need definitely a lot more support locally. And it's going to be interesting to see what the, core organizers of these groups decide on going forward. But yeah, I'm just glad I could shed some light on that.
For sure. Yeah. Thank you so much for talking about it, because I know it's happening right in your neighborhood, and you probably know a lot more about it than we do up here. It's also really funny to me that people keep saying we're in a police state because of like the vaccine and you have to use a card to get into a bar. And it's like, look at the actual police state here.
The actual police in the streets.
Right. This is the shit that those same fucking people will say is like, oh, you're being dramatic about, and police are like a fact of life. But then like, you have to show a vaccine to,
Yeah, and Atlanta being the most surveilled city in the U.S., like people won't think that's a police state, but yeah, people enforcing vaccines, sure.
Yeah. Well, I know you got to get out of here. Why don't you go ahead and promote Hot Girl Agenda, the podcast? I enjoy it quite a bit. Let my listeners know about it. Anything else?
Hell yeah. So Hot Girl Agenda is an anti-capitalist femme podcast, and we talk a lot about, organizing and community movements and pop culture and pretty much anything under the sun from a leftist femme perspective. So it's really, really fun. My co-host is Yessi Padilla, and they're fucking awesome. And we always have like really cool guests on. We had you on, Jake, and Lisa as well. We got to have Anders on at some point.
Yeah, I'm all about the Hot Girl Agenda.
Yeah. But you can find us at, so we're on pretty much every streaming platform there is. And you can also subscribe to the Patreon for our bonus episodes. It's patreon.com/hotgirlagenda.
Cool. And
not to compete with you or anything, but
no, we don't compete.
Right.
We're part of one big scam ourselves.
Yeah.
it's a
grifters got to work together.
It's a group grift.
Yeah.
Group grift.
Yeah. No. We're not capitalists. We don't compete with each other.
Right.
We just want to be compensated a little bit for the labor of putting shit out there.
Right. We're shitty capitalists. That's it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true.
All right, cool. That's you got anything else, or are we all set?
Oh no, that's it. That's just listen to my podcast. Subscribe to the Patreon, please, so I can keep making cool stuff for y'all.
All right, thanks.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, thanks, Rara.
Oh, there it is. Okay, we're back. Plugs. Let's do some plugs and get out of here. That was Rara Imler, our very funny friend and comrade. Let's see. What have I got to promote other than the usual stuff? Our merch we have for sale. Link is in the show notes. Our Patreon. You should sign up for our Patreon and listen to our bonus episodes. We just did a really good one with our friend Luisa Diaz about the 9/11 Museum. That's fucking crazy. She knows a lot of shit about the 9/11 Museum. Also, I think I'm gonna start Twitch streaming again soon, so keep an eye out for that if you're one of those fucking freaks.
Alex has been doing it. I know. I might go back to it.
Yeah, I just bought WarioWare, which is a really stupid game that I think is going to Twitch stream pretty well. Here's what I have to promote. Since I don't have any more dates, since I'm off the road for the minute, I've got a new album coming out, which is because of what a low-level comedian I am, the material I record sometimes comes out years after the fact. So all of the shit from back when Ice blew me up, and I was doing stand-up about that, is on this album that I recorded that got fucked up by COVID, admittedly. That's part of it. So it's finally coming out. It's going to come out on November 5th, but if you want to hear it live and you listen to Sirius XM radio, if you're one of those fucking freaks, it'll be airing live September 24th at 2 p.m. and 10 p.m. I'll put the details in the show notes. I'm not exactly sure where. I think it's maybe on the Stand Up Records channel or something, if they have a channel. I don't listen to Sirius. That's it. What do you got, Anders?
And Anders Lee here on Twitter. Yeah, sign up for our Patreon and help out India Walton, who's running for mayor in Buffalo and is dealing with some of the issues we're just discussing in Buffalo, donate or phone bank. And if you're in Buffalo, please go out and canvass for her. That's it.
Cool. All right. It's finished.
It's finished.
Oh, and thanks for coming to the live show.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, friends.
Now it's finished.